One side says releasing often is healthy, that it lowers your stress, helps you sleep, and protects your prostate. The other side says it's killing your testosterone, weakening your body, and turning men soft. So who's actually right? This is part 3 of the trilogy, made especially for older men navigating this in silence, especially here in the US. And if you haven't seen the first 2, go back and watch them. We broke down the science and exposed the lie, but today, it all comes to a head. We're putting both sides face to face. No fluff, no agenda. We're going to break it down and settle this once and for all. Does retention make you stronger? Or is daily release the better path? Let's find out. Now, to be fair, daily ejaculation isn't all bad. A lot of guys only hear the negatives online, but let's talk real for a second. There's a reason your body wants to release. And when done with intention, not out of habit or addiction, it can actually be good for you. For starters, it helps your body regulate stress. You get a hit of endorphins, oxytocin, prolactin, chemicals that relax your nervous system. That's why a lot of men feel calmer, more at ease, even sleepy after. It's not imagined, it's biological. And if you're a man over 60 dealing with tension, insomnia, or a high-pressure lifestyle, that release can act like a natural reset. It doesn't just clear your head, it can help you sleep deeper, recover faster, and reduce the kind of stress that burns men out from the inside. Then there's prostate health. Yeah, it's true. There's research suggesting that frequent ejaculation may reduce the risk of prostate cancer later in life. One study out of Harvard tracked over 30,000 men and found that those who released more often had a slightly lower risk. Is it conclusive? No. But it's worth acknowledging. And for older men in relationships, regular sexual release can help with connection, bonding, and emotional regulation, when it's part of a shared experience, not a solo escape. So no, ejaculating daily doesn't make you weak by default. If it's done with awareness, with discipline, and it isn't draining your energy or numbing your emotions, it can actually be a healthy part of your rhythm. The real issue starts when it's automatic. And that's where retention enters the conversation. Because when a man chooses to hold back, not out of guilt, but out of control, something shifts. He's not just avoiding release, he's building pressure. He's letting that energy stay inside and do something else. Focus sharper, work harder, train with more intensity, think with more clarity. For a lot of men, that change is real and they feel it fast. See, when you stop chasing dopamine every day, your brain resets. You're not constantly draining it with cheap highs. And as that reward system stabilizes, your motivation starts coming back. You want to move, you want to build, you want to lead. And that alone is a massive win. But it's not just mental. Some men notice real physical changes too. More drive at the gym, better posture, stronger eye contact. It's like your body knows it's not being emptied every night, so it steps up. And then there's the emotional shift. You stop using release as an escape. You stop running from discomfort. And that builds something deeper than energy. It builds resilience. Now, is this backed by hundreds of peer-reviewed studies? No. But the men living it don't need a study to tell them what they feel. They just know. When they retain, they're on. When they release every day, they're not. And maybe that's the real signal here. Not what's right or wrong, but what makes you feel more like yourself, strong, focused, clear, and what doesn't. But here's where most guys mess this whole thing up. They take it too far. Some get so deep into retention, they start obsessing. counting days, fearing release, tying their entire self-worth to how long they can hold out. That's not power, that's pressure. And pressure cracks men just as fast as addiction does. Retention becomes a competition. And when you inevitably release because you're human, suddenly it's guilt, shame, failure. That's not healthy, that's a trap. You didn't quit porn just to end up enslaved by a different number. But the other side? Just as dangerous. Daily ejaculation without awareness turns into autopilot. You're not choosing to release. You're reacting to stress, to boredom, to loneliness. It's not something you do. It's something that does you. And that's where the real damage happens. Not because you ejaculated, but because you stopped thinking, stopped leading yourself, and started letting your impulses call the shots. That's what this really comes down to. Not how often you release, but whether you're the one choosing it. The truth is, there's no magic number, no perfect formula. Some men feel sharp and steady releasing once a week. Others thrive with total retention. And some find their balance somewhere in the middle. But here's the one pattern that never lies. Control equals strength. Impulse equals weakness. If you can go days or even weeks without needing that release, not because you're forcing it, but because you're focused on bigger things, that's power. And when you do choose to release, it's intentional, not reactive, not lazy, not I'm bored, so let me scroll, but I've earned this. I'm in control of this. I decide. That's the edge most men are missing. Not just in their bedroom, but in their mind, their routines, their goals, their discipline. And if you're a man over 60 living here in the States, still battling with this quietly, then ask yourself, if you're not in charge of your own body, who is? That's the real takeaway here. Not retain forever, not release daily, but lead yourself. Pay attention to what gives you strength and what drains it. That's the path. And if this trilogy helped you see that even just a little clearer, then do one thing. Subscribe. Not for me, but so I know this message landed with men over 60 who rarely get content made for them. Especially if you're in the US and you feel no one ever talks about this at your age. This channel is your space. Subscribe so I know there are men out there who want more of this, because we've barely scratched the surface. And if you want to keep going deeper, you've got to let me know this mattered. Drop a comment, share it with a friend. And above all, choose your path with purpose. This is your body, your mind, your edge. Own it.